Hello and welcome. Today, we are jumping right into the very heart of India's central government. We're going to try and figure out who really calls the shots. It's a fascinating question, so let's get right into it.
So who actually runs the country? You might think it's the person with the most impressive title, but the real answer is a bit more complicated than that. You'll see that India's system creates this really interesting power dynamic between two key leaders.
All right, here's the game plan for our explainer. First, we'll break down what the executive branch even is. Then we'll look at the head of state, and after that, the person who's considered the real executive. We'll also cover the cabinet's role, and then tie it all together at the end.
Okay, first up, the executive branch. So what is it? Well, think of it this way. These are the people who actually run the government day to day. They're the ones responsible for taking the laws passed by Parliament and putting them into action. So who are the major players in this branch? Well, you've got the president, the vice president, the prime minister, and this group called the Council of Ministers. To really get what's going on, we need to understand what each of these roles entails. Let's start right at the very top, with the official head of state, the President of India. Now, this is the highest constitutional office in the country, but as we're about to find out, the title and the power don't exactly line up the way you might think.
And, not just anyone can become president. The Constitution is really clear about this. You have to be a citizen of India, you've got to be at least 35 years old, you need to be qualified to be a member of the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house of parliament, and you can't be holding any other job that pays a government salary.
Now take a look at this. On paper, the president's powers are, well, they're huge. They span across everything from the military and lawmaking to finance and diplomacy. It's a really impressive list, so let's break down what these powers actually are.
So first, you have executive powers. The president is the one who appoints the prime minister and other major officials. Then there are the military powers. The president is the supreme commander of the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. And on the world stage, the president has diplomatic powers, representing India and signing international treaties.
But wait, there's more. The president also has legislative powers, meaning they can call parliament into session or even dissolve it. Financially, any bill related to money needs the president's go-ahead before it can even be introduced. And in the justice system, the president holds the incredible power to grant a pardon to someone convicted of a crime.
So, with a list of powers that long, you'd think the president runs everything, right? Well, this is where things get interesting, because now we need to talk about the person who is often called the real executive, the prime minister.
And that leads us to the big question, the real puzzle here. If the president has all these massive powers, why is the office often described as being just a nominal head, a leader in name only? What's going on?
And this slide right here lays it out perfectly. The president is the head of the state. Think of them as the symbol of the nation, the ceremonial figurehead, kind of like the chairman of a company. The prime minister, on the other hand, is the head of the government. They're the CEO, the person actually running the show, making the day-to-day decisions, and holding the real executive power. This diagram just says it all, doesn't it? The prime minister is sitting right there in the middle, connecting the president, the parliament, and the cabinet. They are literally the central hub that keeps all the different parts of the government working together. So, what does the prime minister actually do? Well, they're the leader of the party that won the election, so they have the backing of the people. They choose the ministers, decide who's in charge of what department, and basically set the entire government's agenda. They make sure all the departments are on the same page, and they're the main voice of the government. This quote really nails it. The prime minister is the pivot around which the entire constitutional machinery runs. It's not just that they're an important part of the government, they are the central point, the pivot that the entire system revolves around. Now, the prime minister isn't doing all of this alone. They have a core team, and that brings us to the cabinet, the group that really helps drive the government's work. So the cabinet is like the inner circle. It's made up of the most senior ministers who run the biggest departments, like finance, defense, and so on. They are the true nucleus of the administration. This is the room where the most important policy decisions for the country are made. And their job is absolutely massive. The cabinet is responsible for setting pretty much all government policy, both at home and abroad. They keep all the different parts of the government working together. They even write the president's big speeches to Parliament. And, in the most extreme cases, they are the only ones who can advise the president to declare a national emergency. Okay, so we've got the president with all these formal powers, and then we have the prime minister and the cabinet with the real, hands-on authority. So how does it all fit together?
Well, it all boils down to one simple concept: a system of advice.
And here it is, the key to the whole thing. All of those incredible powers the president has, the executive, the military, the legislative ones, they are almost always used on the advice of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. The president is expected to follow that advice. This is the simple but powerful mechanism that puts real authority in the hands of the elected government.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty big question to think about. The entire system is built on teamwork and this idea of advice. It's a delicate balance, but it does make you wonder. What happens when the president and the prime minister don't see eye to eye? What happens when that advice just doesn't sit right with the head of state? That's when you see how strong the system really is.